Hey Pilates Squad, Matthew here. Today I'm going to show you some great recovery stretches and some things you can do to complement your flow on the reformer without even moving the carriage. One way we love to start class is to have members sit on the side, on the very edge of the carriage. And when they do that, their arms can just hang down into anatomical position. And then we can do all our shoulder care and neck work from this position. Seated stacking, rolling the shoulders, and spiraling out the back and the neck. Now this body position also sets you up to wheel stretches we call seated wheels, or just a forward fold. Hinging, flexing, forward, and rolling back. Now you can build so many variations out of a wheel stretch. You can roll back into twisting, isometrics, these style of abs, we call Jane Fonda abs. But this is the foundation. Just have them sit on the side, hinge forward, flex forward, and roll backwards. Now the height of the carriage is really important because when the hips are up high above the feet, most people have a better forward fold. Very few people can sit on the flat floor and actually forward fold with any kind of spine integrity. So this is a nice way to especially help your tightest people win this stretch and feel the pelvis and spine harmony of the articulation of rolling. So those are our seated side stretches. Now we have another series, seated straddles. Now in this straddle stretch position, you have the same principles. The hips are up high, the feet are down low. And from there, somebody can fold forward. Much easier than trying to straddle stretch on the floor. So this would be a good series to use during arm work. For example, you're rolling back, you're doing arm moves. Somebody's back might get tired or their hips might get tired. All right, well, we want to do more rowing, so let's straddle stretch for a minute. Get some recovery, and then you can return to your arm moves. Another great position here is to use your shoulder blocks for traction. So you can roll backwards, create traction, especially in those rhomboids and the lats where people seem to get really, really achy. You can explore these traction stretches and find some good things. And then one more we like to do is spiraling. It's just like chair dancing class from 2011, spiraling around. And you can get a lot of thoracic mobility and really help people organize neck pain with these little spiraling traction series. Now in this seated rear facing straddle position, you can also work on hip hinging. Put a broomstick on their back, keep that back nice and straight as they hinge forward from the pelvis, movement of the pelvis tipping forward. And then you can help people organize spine flexion. Some people are going to be able to just drop down to the rails, but that person you're going to want to limit. Make them flex more in their thoracic spine or their cervical, wherever if they're hypermobile in their low spine, use the rails to help them kind of push into different parts of the spine flexion. Even a nice rollback helps, and they can organize that. So that's seated rear facing. We have seated on the side, and then obviously there's a great series on your back, which is our supine series. So say you're doing leg work, oh, so much leg work, legs are exhausted, you need to rest. Well, you just wiggle them down out of the shoulder blocks. And then our foundational stretch here, supine, we call star stretch. So you got arms wide, legs wide, and rolling the hips up. Now this is such a nice extension in the hips and the back. Make sure they don't hyperextend their back when they're making this shape. Now out of that star stretch position, we can do recovery work on the wrists. flexing and extending. Ooh, that sends tingles up the arms. We can roll the ankles and practice ankle movements. You can hug the legs in and extend them out. We call this full body stretch on the reformer. Since you can't bring the arms overhead, you got legs on the midline, arms out wide, hugging and extending. So we got full body stretch, star stretch, and then our next foundational stretch is ball stretch. Legs to tabletop, scoop and curl up. Now in ball stretch, somebody could hug their feet in, they could hug their shins in, could hug in on the hamstrings. They can splay the legs out wide or keep them narrow. And then ball stretch sets up anybody to go into ab work. Single leg stretch, double leg stretch, whatever it might be, scissor. You've just now put a foundation to getting ready for that movement. Star stretch, ball stretch, and then do your ab work. We have another one we love. It's called good morning stretch. You go second position and then twist. You're twisting the hips and the legs. You want to encourage spine extension with more rotation. And then you want the back leg to actually push you into the move. The back knee does not drop down to the bar with a limp leg. The back leg resists the twist a little bit, and you push off the back glute to get more range of motion. This is a studio favorite. We've got good morning stretch with a counter twist up top. This counter twist, members really love. Extending back. We've got the whole spiraling line to work on. And you can even add some traction by gripping on those rails. Ooh-wee. So that's good morning stretch right there. So our foundational stretches on our back. You're doing leg work. You're doing ab work. Oh my gosh, they need a break. Okay, star stretch. Boom, boom. Up. Ball stretch. The opposite. Tuck it in. Good morning stretch. Twisting. And full body stretch. Legs straight on the midline, on the bar. Arms out to the sides. Now you can get a great shoulder traction stretch. If you move down far enough to hang your kneecaps over the bar, then extend your arms back. Hook onto your rails. Tuck that chin in nice and deep. And stretch. That stretch can really help you with some shoulders. You want to make sure they stay in neutral though when you do those traction stretches. Okay, that's 3 of our series. So we have our seated side, wheel stretch. We do this 2 or 3 times a workout. We'll do 6 wheels, and everybody gets so much better in those forward folds. We have our seated rear facing series. You can pull back on those ropes, create traction. We have our supine series, and the last one is kneeling facing front. The foundation of your kneeling front facing series is shell stretch. Loose shoulders, neck nice and loose. Now, if you have a balanced body Allegro, they have a lock-in foot bar. That's amazing. A lock-in foot bar gives you traction. So you can pull backwards on the foot bar, This traction stretch right here, pulling shell stretch, is so powerful. You can knock out so much neck pain out of people's lives. Pulling with a little bit of traction. Then twisting shell stretch. Twist. You want to twist and grip. If you don't have a locking foot bar here, you can actually push your foot bar with one arm and pull on it with the other. Create an equal amount of tension and your foot bar won't move. Then we have back and hip extension. You want to walk up, knees up at the front of the carriage, up onto sprinter's hands, and then lift high. Push forward with the glutes. Make sure the glutes stay on. Back extension, hip extension. And then walking back to shell stretch. And you can wheel this move back and forwards with great effect. Once you're up here, you can do your side bending. It's a nice little stretch. Twisting down to the bar. Ooh, nice stretch on the lats and low back. And the last one we love to do up here, we call sidewinder stretch, where we're twisting. Again, it's an upper twist. It's an upper twist, trying to mobilize the thoracic. You'll see the shape of the arms. The leading arm turns up, head turns. Trailing arm turns straight down. You want to keep them hovering over the foot bar. You don't want them dropping down into the foot bar or under the foot bar. Now you got traction here. Your leading arm pushes down into the bar. Your trailing arm pushes up into the bar. And in that counter, in that pressing, that counter, you're sending traction, waves of traction through that middle back and shoulder blades. Anyway, I think these stretches are so cool. They really fill out your flow. That's the trick. When you're doing your flow and you're doing your Pilates, it's like, well, how do we go from supine to rear facing, doing rolling back, for example? How do we go from leg work to rolling back in a smooth way? Well, pretty easy. You've done leg work. Leg work's done. Whew. Roll them up. Sit them on the side. Have them do a few wheel stretches and feel some spine harmony. And then turn them. And right away, they've just warmed up. They just have a new body position and they're ready to go for it. So, hope you like the reformer stretches. Using these 3 levels, the foot bar, the carriage and blocks, and the floor, using those tri-level, you can do so many amazing stretches on the reformer. Oh shoot, let me show you one more. A lot of teachers already know this series, but when you have your long box on, you can do your standing figure 4. This is great. When people come in out of yoga, kind of jacked up from pigeon pose, you can really help them reorganize their hip positioning. You got your high step stretch, and then one I love is crawling lizard on the box. You can take this box flow out into a kind of bar-like series, and it's also really nice to help them do piking. We even do our bar wheel stretch, i.e. a chaturanga. We do this one on the box sometimes just as recovery. Okay, so that's some great stretching you can do on the reformer. You don't even have to move the carriage. You can do a whole, I feel great now, do a whole great feeling kind of flow, or work these into with your flow, and you know, have a little reformer stability. Alrighty, thanks, and see you next time.